Denmark is one of the most expensive countries in the world, but my girlfriend and I just bought this house here behind me for around 123,000 US dollars, which in Denmark is very cheap for a house. So I want to show you how much house you can actually get for like around 100k in a very expensive country, but also look at why this house is so cheap compared to many other parts of Denmark. And I'll also talk about, I guess, how and why we bought this house, show you around the place and give you an idea of what our plans are to restore this 125-year-old house to perhaps a bit of its former glory. And since we already are in the backyard, let's just start by having a quick look out here, because the whole property is around 700 square meters. So we do have a pretty nice little grass lawn area around here, and a huge, I guess there's actually a couple of apple trees that are being like just completely taken over by whatever the name of this plant is. I can never remember. And then coming back here, we have the, I guess, the little barbecue area terrace. And one thing that is really nice, because it is such an old house, and of course then the gardens are also super old, is that it is very private. Like the hedges and everything are super tall, and the plants have grown like really big and tall. So we have quite a lot of privacy from the neighbors. So a lot of work to be done out here in the backyard, but we'll probably start tackling that in springtime. Right now, we want to focus on the inside of the house. So coming inside, we have the entryway right here. And here are the stairs leading up to the first floor, where there are 3 bedrooms. And the entryway also leads straight into the kitchen here and the living room on the other side. And I want to take you back a couple of days, because the day we got the keys for this house, we actually immediately started pulling up some of the ugly laminate flooring that was on here inside the living room. So now here, the floor is all done. And as you can see, at least in my opinion, it does look just a lot better. And it is just really cool to have the original flooring and to use that in the house. Now we do think that these kind of holes here are a little bit weird and a little bit dirty, but we do have big plans for these living rooms. One of the next projects we're gonna tackle here is building like a built-in IKEA hack TV furniture over here. And down here on the end wall in the second living room, we're gonna build like one huge built-in bookshelf. So you can tag along in some of the next videos where we want to show more of the progress of renovating this whole house. But yeah, here I want to show that like this. Here is the floor that was all over the living room, and it's just kind of made to look like a fake tile, and it's just it's really ugly and dark. But even worse is the floor that's in the kitchen and in the dining area. I mean, you have to see this. So also some laminate flooring, but with like names of different wines, I think, just all over the place. If you like this floor, please let me know, because I want to have a chat with you. Why? And as you can see, we also started pulling up the laminate flooring in here in the dining area, and we did find more of the beautiful wooden floor in here as well. But the issue is, let me show you, but the issue here is that at some point they put on this layer of insulation here, I think, and they nailed it straight into the wooden floor. So there are just, I mean, hundreds of nails covering this whole area. And you can see I pulled one out. They're pretty big nails, and a lot of them are just rusted in there. So they're both really difficult to get out. And of course, they're probably gonna leave holes all over this floor. So we do really want to keep this old floor and restore it and make it look a bit more like this here in the living room. But of course, we need to figure out if it's worth it, like actually start pulling out all of these nails, and how we will look after it's been sanded down and treated. But yeah, we really want to keep as much of the original flooring and other stuff that we find throughout this house. And so, as you can probably sense, pulling out all of the old floor pretty much became my favorite pastime. And so we also pulled it up here in the kitchen, and lo and behold, we found yet another floor. This time it's some old tiles, and they're actually pretty cool. And it would be nice to have tiles here in the kitchen. Again, there are some tiles that are broken, and there's also this part over here where I believe maybe they had a part of the kitchen earlier, so there's just no tiles here. So we need to see if we can find some very similar tiles or do something, or at least some tiles that are close enough, or if we need to do something completely different with the tiles here in the kitchen. But besides that, the kitchen is all right. At least on first sight, it looks pretty good. Of course, as you can see, like there's a drawer missing. And if you look closer, a lot of the drawers and cupboards are pretty much falling apart, and they are very, like, kind of, I guess, old and rusty. So we do have to see what we're gonna do about the kitchen. We might replace most of it. And you might have guessed it, the entryway has yet another flooring that we hope to fix. But if we head down this hallway here from the kitchen, we will find the house's only bathroom. And it's also a bit of a mess, but it's a decent enough bathroom. This is at least one of the rooms where we want to do as little as possible, just because here in Denmark, at least, renovating a bathroom is just the most expensive thing that you can do in a house, probably. And if we move out here, it's the laundry room, I guess. We do have the washing machine and then the dryer here that will go on top, which will be nice. And then here is, I guess, another, is the mud room. And out here is just where the furnace is. And well, we are in the process of removing this because it's broke and getting a new heating system installed. So this room will actually be empty. So we'll put a freezer and other stuff in here. Moving on, we have some kind of walk-in closet. Right now it's just basically storage for all of our crap and some socks. And then next to it is another room which will become eventually my office. Right now it's just storage for a lot of IKEA stuff and socks. But yeah, I want to turn this room into my dream office. For so many years I've worked from home or from hotels and everything, and I've just gotten used to working at a small, crappy little desk inside my bedroom, and it just sucks. So now I can finally make a fantastic office where it's really nice, where I want to be, where I want to work. So that will be great. But there's a long way to go still. Okay, let's check out the first floor. With the 3 bedrooms and just this very dangerous and awkward stairway room here. And of course, the first floor was not saved from our floor removal project. So up here we found even more beautiful old wood floors underneath this laminate flooring. So right now there's this floor in all of the rooms, except they have actually put carpet on top of it as well. But we do believe that we have the beautiful old flooring underneath all of it. So the idea is now to pull all of these laminate flooring up and exposing. So there are 3 bedrooms, they're pretty similar. This here will become the master bedroom. Right now it is a mess because the walls in here were just messed up. So we have, I guess, tried pulling down a lot of the wallpaper and just making it a little bit nicer. We will see how it turns out. And then there's just this awkward space out here on the first floor. And right now we're not really sure what we want to do with it. And coming back down next to the kitchen again, we do have our big headache out here, which is this outdoor living room, sunroom. I'm not sure what it's called in English actually. We call it an outdoor living room. It's basically just an uninsulated space that people usually use to, I guess, extend summer a little bit. Now we're just using it to store all of the flooring that we pulled up. But the problem with this room, like the roof is in pretty bad shape and it's supposed to run off and down into the gutters, but it actually runs down before it hitting the gutter. And so actually it means that the water is running, coming down here on the inside of the window. And you can see it rained quite a lot earlier, so we do have some water pooling up here on the inside, which is pretty bad. And sometimes we have found just water out here on the floor. And I mean, that means that this wall is just completely rotten probably. I mean, we do even have some nice little plants growing here. So to make that completely dry, we will at least need to replace the roof on this outhouse sunroom building here. And it will be just a little bit costly, and we're just not actually sure that we even like this room, that we like having an extra room out here that we can use in the summer and what we would even use it for. And also it just takes a lot of the sun and the light that would otherwise come here into the kitchen, because it just really blocks it out. So we are considering just completely tearing that room down and making just a terrace instead. But again, probably a project for later, but that has been one of our big headaches. Okay, let's talk money, because if this exact house was located, let's just say, within 30 minutes of Copenhagen or close to one of the other major cities in Denmark, it could easily cost 5 or 10 times more. So of course, the number one reason why this house is pretty cheap is the location. So we are located in a pretty small town that's around 1 hour away from Copenhagen. And because Denmark is such a small country, an hour is actually a very long distance away. So not a lot of people want to work in Copenhagen and live here. And since a lot of the jobs and a lot of the well-paying jobs are in Copenhagen or other major cities, if people have to commute an hour each way, they just don't want to do it, and they can find a house that's closer. So a lot of these smaller towns that are more in the countryside, the property prices can just be crazy low. But I mean, it is a really lovely town. It's like an old medieval town. There's a cool vibe. There's a lot of tourists here in the summer. There are schools, kindergartens, a lot of shops and grocery stores. So there's really everything we need. And I mean, we do work a lot from home, so we are not like commuting so much. So in that sense, the location is not that important to us. And since this house was relatively cheap to buy, we were able to purchase this house cash. And usually doing that in Denmark is kind of weird. The normal way we would do it is to, I mean, if you have a profit from another property that you sell, you roll that over into buying a bigger and more expensive house or apartment. And the reason that we could buy this house cash was that we sold our apartment in Copenhagen. And I've previously made a video showcasing that apartment in Copenhagen, which was just a small 1-bedroom, 60 square meters apartment, which we sold for like more than 500,000 US dollars. So instead of buying a bigger apartment in Copenhagen, we took all the profits that we had and all the money that we had paid down on the loans and used that to buy this house. And that means that we can live very, very cheaply in this house. And later on, I will make a video breaking down our expenses living here in Denmark. But really, we can live very much on a budget, even though Denmark is a really expensive country. Now, of course, we did have to buy that apartment in Copenhagen in the first place, but that's a story for another time. So hopefully it was a little bit interesting seeing how much house you can actually get for not that much money here in Denmark, if you're willing to compromise a little bit on the distance you are away from one of the major cities. And if you want to tag along and see how this whole renovation project goes and what this 125-year-old house will end up looking like, then consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.